Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today and welcome to this educational presentation of You Deserve to be a Consistent Trader. And I really believe that I can show you how. Now, most likely, if you're here joining me today, you're struggling with your own trading, and don't worry, I struggled with my trading when I first started out, and even through a couple of beginning years when I first started trading, I had a very difficult time. But I'm going to be sharing with you a couple of techniques and things that can start turning your trading around if you fully understand how to implement them. For example, let's look at this chart here. This is a chart in KLAC. This was just about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Now, this is why most traders struggle and why they're inconsistent. Most traders would look at this and say, well, Steve, you know, we're having a doji right here. So what that has told me, that $10,000 class I took on the candlesticks tells me that that's a trend change, it's a reversal, so most likely we're at the beginning of a downtrend. So I should either stay out of this or I should look to short this stock. Well, that couldn't be further from the truth from what I'm going to be sharing with you today, because what I'm going to be teaching you, you actually would have known that this was not in a downtrend or the beginning of a downtrend, but that we actually were generating not only one, but two buy signals. And this was on the 9th of July, and as we can see, the stock went up 16 points in less than 2 weeks. So that's what I'm going to be sharing with you today, a couple of the principles of how we identify this. And once again, welcome. My name is Steven Primo. I'm the president and founder of Specialist Trading. This promises to be a great educational webinar today. I know if you've been struggling, don't worry. As I just stated, I struggled tremendously when I first started as well. My career began on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. So I know a number of you would probably say, well, how could you struggle? You had advanced information, you were dealing with other traders, you had a large capital amount you could trade with. Sure, but I was using all the things that most likely you're using or have used in the past, and that I found held no levels of consistency to them. So I struggled tremendously. I studied candlesticks before even the community knew what candlesticks were. I knew all about support and resistance, the institutions. I dealt with the institutions, so I knew where their orders were. I knew all about volume. I listed all the stocks that had earnings expectations. And guess what? Nothing works in terms of consistency, or nothing worked. And what I came to the conclusion is that nothing works now in terms of consistency. Those things still do not apply. I was lucky enough to have some mentors train me, and that's what I do with all my students around the world. In over 115 countries and in every state in the United States, I train and teach students the exact same thing that I learned myself and that has sustained me going on 42 years now. So hopefully it will be able to do the same for you. So I'm going to teach you a couple of these aspects today. But before we begin, as always, we're first required by law to share this with you. So please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to share with you a lot of performance results using a couple of techniques. But please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. And also, please remember that all examples are strictly for educational purposes only. Once again, we're required to show you our disclaimer, but I'd also like to take this time to invite each and every one of you, if you haven't done so already, to follow us on Twitter. A lot of great free information that I post on a daily basis, information regarding signals that our strategies have generated to little bits of financial wisdom. So you may want to copy down our handle right there at SPCLSTTRADG, and feel free to follow us on Twitter. Now, once again, as I stated, we are purely an educational company. This separates us from most webinars, from most companies you've attended or purchased some of their products in the past, because our sole purpose is simply to educate you, because that's really what's missing. All right, if you're having trouble with your trading, if you just can't seem to get on track, sure, you have maybe a couple of wins here and there, and then you lose it all, and then maybe you win one more, and then you lose that again. That's not consistency. That's basically trading like you're on a roller coaster. It's very frustrating, very discouraging, because you know how much hard work you've put in, and most especially how much money you've spent as well. I know exactly what you're going through. I went through the exact same thing myself, and if I can go back and get all of the thousands of dollars I spent some 40 years ago, I would love to recoup that, because it's probably, in today's times, it's probably about 5 times more if you spend a good 10 or 20,000. So I know what you're going through. What I want to provide you with is sound fundamental education that stood the test of time. So as you see here, my goal is not to force feed you signals. If you've come here thinking that I'm going to tell you exactly what to buy or sell, or what the perfect time frame is, or the perfect market that no one's ever heard of, you've come to the wrong place, because that goes entirely against our philosophy. Our philosophy is simply to present you with high probability setups so that you can decide for yourself how to trade it. And then we teach you how to trade it. We have upwards of 7 or 8 different variables for entry, for exiting, and for stop placement. Remember, my goal is to teach you how to trade with the specialist edge. It's the same edge that was taught to me some 42 years ago and that has sustained me that amount of time. Hopefully, it will be able to do the same for you. Now, I want you to ask me as many questions as possible, but please, I know it's a busy day today and you don't want to be here all afternoon, so if you have a question, please wait till the very end. I promise I'll get to them at the very end. The only question I will answer is this being recorded? Yes, it is. So if you have to leave early or if you're having technical issues, don't worry, we will send each and every one of you a link to this recording, okay? So if you happen to join us late, there's a good crowd today, please wait till the end of class to ask questions. All right, with that stated, let's begin today's educational class. Now, in order to trade the markets today, you need a 1-2 punch. It's not as simple as having some great indicator and that's all you have to follow, or having some great market that everyone's trading. It's not as easy as that. You need a couple of things, a 1-2 punch. So these are the things you have to add to your trading. First of all, you need a consistent trading plan that's based off of market behavior. I specifically highlight market behavior because think of the way you base your decisions. Is it based off of earnings reports? Is it based off of some guy in a chat room? Is it based off of what you feel, if you feel lucky that day and you feel like, hey, you know, I feel like I'm going to be right. I was right yesterday, so I'm going to be right again. So I guess I'll double down on everything I'm doing. I mean, that's not the proper way to trade. We have to make our decisions based on what the market is telling us. Now, market behavior is extremely important. That's the education we focus the most on. Now, don't worry, it's not complicated. It sounds more complicated than it is. It's not this esoteric way of looking at things and reading the market as if it's some type of, Einstein theory. No, it's extremely simple. In fact, it's more simple than deciphering what the earnings reports are going to be. Let me show you what I mean here. And when we say market behavior, we also want something that's consistent. People say, well, sure, you mean something that makes a lot of money. No, that's not what consistent means. Consistent means that we are aware of the fact that we will have losses from time to time. That's okay, all right? It's perfectly admissible to have a loss here and there. What is not admissible was when you go into a series of sustained losses, a sustained drawdown. That's not a very consistent method. What a consistent method is being aware that you will have some losses from time to time, okay, but knowing that and trusting that your plan is able to recoup those losses, then you'll be right back on track. That's what consistency means. So let's talk about our most consistent strategy. Strategy number 4. This is a strategy I was first taught by my mentors over 4 decades ago, and I have been trading it in some capacity for the past 42 years, okay? Some of the highlights, it's for all traders, from beginners to advanced. So don't worry if you've been trading for a couple of weeks or if you've been trading for 30 years. Makes no difference because everyone gets the standard format as a student of mine, and then we work out from there to meet your needs. Now, it was originally designed for traders looking to catch momentum moves and quick momentum moves. When I was on the floor, we used this in and out of a trade in 3 to 5 minutes. But we've designed ways to stay in 3 to 5 weeks or even 3 to 5 months if you'd like. Its intensity level is number 2. In other words, it's not the most intense where you can't even leave your computer screen, and it's not the most relaxed where you can enter an order and walk away for a couple of days. It's a very moderate number 2, okay? It only uses one indicator. You can apply it to any time frame, any direction, and any market. So even though the majority of slides I share with you today may be on stocks, trust me, I use it on the Emini futures. We have tons of students who use it on forex markets. We also have Bitcoin traders and currency pair traders and commodity traders. So it makes absolutely no difference. Now, members will receive automatic buy and sell arrows, but they're there strictly for educational purposes only. We teach you exactly what to look for, and then when you find a setup, all you have to do is apply the arrows to see if you're in line, all right, to correct your work or to see if you're properly identifying a setup. Remember, our edge here is consistency. We are not guaranteeing that every trade works. I'll show you a couple of examples, but consistency is in trusting a method that's able to recoup those losses when and if they do occur. All right, so let's give you a couple of the rules, okay? I told you I was going to share with you a couple of the rules. Here is the first rule of strategy number 4. Buy signals can only be entered above the 50-period simple moving average, okay? Now, conversely, if you're selling, your sell signal can only be entered below the 50-period moving average. Trust me, you will have added consistency if you use this simple rule. I have told my students, if I were stranded on a desert island and I could only trade with one of the rules that my mentors taught me, it would be this. Because your consistency increases tremendously when you're only buying above the 50 and only selling below. Unfortunately, we're usually taught the opposite, right? You go to a chat room and some guy says, this is so oversold, it's never been at these levels before, you've got to scoop it up and buy it. Now, if you go and look at the chart, it's most likely going to be below the 50-period moving average, okay? You don't want to buy that because the odds will be going against you. Now, if something is tremendously, in your mind, oversold, but it's above the 50, well, sure, you have perfect right to be interested in purchasing that if you want to. So that's rule number one. Rule number two, let's say you get a buy setup, whatever strategy you're using. Well, with strategy 4, the buy signal bars must close in the top 25% of their range. And conversely, if you get a sell signal that is below the 50, that bar where all the requirements come into play must close in the bottom 25% of its range. Students always say, well, what does this matter? That's the market. Remember, market behavior, the market is telling us what it wants to do on the short term. The 50-period moving average tells us what the market wants to do on the overall term and the overall trend. The closing of the top or bottom 25% gives us an indication as to what the market wants to do on the short-term trend. All right, so let's look at this example now, okay? As we can see here, we've been headed higher, but we have no idea. I mean, someone could say, well, it's overbought. We're going to be selling off here. Let me show you how simple it is to come up with a clear and concise plan based off market behavior. The first thing we want to do is apply the 50. So now there's no question of whether something is overbought or oversold. The overall trend is up. So that automatically, just takes care of half the problem of deciding whether you're a buyer or seller. You know that whatever you do, it has to be from a buyer's bias, a buyer's point of view. Now, secondly, you want to apply rule number 2, which is look for a bar that closes in the top 25% of its range, which is right here. As you notice, all of these bars either close in the middle or the lower portion, but this bar closed in the top 25%. All right, now, trust me, there are 2 more rules that are required to make up strategy number 4. I'm sorry, I cannot divulge them right now. It wouldn't be fair to the people that took this course and paid good money for this course, but I've given you half the rules. I've given you, if you went into a restaurant, I've basically given you half the meal for free, okay? Now, according to the remaining rules and requirements of strategy number 4, this was a valid buy signal. So, what you would have done if you decided, remember, it's up to you. We're not telling you you have to take these. This is not a system. It's entirely up to you, but you could have taken this trade. You had a very nice little gain there in the following days, all right? Now let's see what happened. We are still above the 50. Price started to sell off, all right? And what do we have here? Well, we have some bars that close in the top 25%. We also have a number of bars that also closed in the top 25%, but they did not meet the rules of the strategy. But these ones did. So these are all valid buy signals. So you say, gosh, I missed that first one. That was a nice profit. I could have either purchased a stock or maybe purchased some calls. I'm going to take advantage of these ones. I'm going to buy maybe 3 calls because I got 3 signals going in a row. And then this happens, okay? Is the strategy faulty? Is it, not working anymore? Is it not a good strategy? Absolutely not. Using our proper money management, we would have probably sustained a small minor loss here. But we also have to ask ourselves, in order to trade the markets today, remember, you need a 1-2 punch. Well, I just shared with you what the first punch is. That's consistency based off of market behavior. What is the second part of that 1-2 punch? Well, we need a tool that filters out the bad trades from the good ones. Now, this is not guaranteed that it's going to filter out every losing trade. Nothing does that. If someone ever told you that they have a tool or they have a method that never loses, I would walk away because that doesn't exist. You're always going to have losing trades. But there are ways to filter out some of them. So this is bringing us to the second of these techniques I'm going to be sharing with you, and that's the Pet Dee. This is our most valuable tool we have at Specialist Trading. Another thing I was introduced to by my mentors on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange some 30 or 40 years ago. Let me share with you an example here. Look at this older chart in Zion. By the time someone discerns that we're in a downtrend, by the time you finally agree that this is going lower, this is what usually happens, right? We've all been there before. If we add the Pet Dee, which is a color bar tool, it tells us in advance when we have a confluence of red bars. We knew well in advance that we were in a short-term downtrend. And we knew well in advance with 3 or 4 green bars that the downtrend had concluded and that most likely we were in an uptrend. Now, once you know the short-term trend, you can confirm if your strategy is in sync with that direction. So this is the beauty of applying strategy 4 with the Pet Dee. This combination is called our dynamic duo. We have literally hundreds, if not thousands of students trading this around the world, and we have just hundreds of testimonials telling us how well this has worked for them and how much the dynamic duo has increased their odds for consistency. All right, so let's look at the example before in IBM, how this could have helped us. Remember, we had that original buy signal. What you would do is simply apply the Pet Dee to confirm it, all right? So the Pet Dee will change the colors, and all we're interested in is seeing the bar above the arrow is confirming the signal. So if you have a buy signal, you want to see that this bar above the arrow is outlined green. So once we apply the Pet Dee, we see that yes, it is outlined green. Now it has a white hollow body because that's the way we can discern whether we're up or down. If the day was down, it would be a dark hollow body, but it's up. And at the same time, it's colored green. So you have a valid dynamic duo signal, which would have given you the confidence to take this trade. And look what happened. You had a nice profit. Now, I know you're saying, well, where would I exit, Steve? Where do I place my stop? That's all in the course. Remember, we give you upwards of 7 or 8 different entries, exits, and stop placements. Now, we come to the later example. We have 3 buy signals in a row. Remember, the dynamic duo states that if it is a valid setup, a buy signal needs to be outlined green. So what color are all these 3 bars outlined? They're outlined red. So even though the market behavior is telling us that the market wants to go higher, the short-term trend identifier, the translator for the short term, is not confirming it. So this tells us not to take these signals, and you would not have lost. As you see here, some of the best trades are the ones you never take. So this is a great way not only to confirm a valid setup, but also to keep you out and filter out some of these losses. Not guaranteed, but a good way to filter out a great deal of them. All right, so let's look at some more dynamic duo examples. Some of these are maybe a month or 2 old. Some of those are a couple of days old, okay? Just so you can understand the process. And including in the process, we're going to be talking about how simple it is to apply this process on our platform, the PTS Primo Charting Platform. I developed this and designed this with Pro Trader strategies with one goal in mind: to make trading simple, to educate you so that you fully understand the process, but more importantly, to make it as simple as possible, okay? And whether you've been trading 30 years or 30 minutes, everyone gets the same basic format, and you see how easy it is to trade with the dynamic duo. All right, so let's show you some examples. Here's an example in KLAC. All right, this was July 9th. This is the first example we looked at. Once again, someone was saying, well, Steve, there's a doji right there, and you know, that candlestick class I took says that we're in a downtrend. Until I see a reversal, I'm not going to do anything. Well, here's the first thing you do. We're not going to concern ourselves with candlestick chart patterns. We're not concerning ourselves with institutions. We're not concerning ourselves with volume. Remember, we want to keep it as simple as possible. The first thing you do is click on the Buy Sell tab in our upper green strategy tab center here, and you'll get a drop-down menu. All you want to do is click on 50-period moving average. And we have 4 different ways of applying the buy-sell line. Let's choose the simplest, which is the 50-period moving average. So now you ask yourself, where is price in relation to that? Obviously, it's above. So are we going to be selling KLAC? Absolutely not. Are we in a downtrend in KLAC? No, the overall trend is up. We're never going to swim against the overall trend. We're always going to be going with it. We're always going to be swimming with the current at our back. So if the overall trend is up, we're looking for buy setups. Now, once you become a student of mine, we teach you in our online courses what to look for. So let's say you're a student for a couple of weeks and you're starting to get the hang of identifying strategy 4 setups. And you say, you know what? I think I see a couple of them right here. We close in the top 25% here and here. I think we have a couple of buy signals. So here's how valuable the platform is, because it teaches you how to verify and confirm your work. Click on strategy, Number 4, after you've identified where you think these setups are, the drop-down menu appears, and just simply click on signal arrows. Remember, these are for educational purposes only. We don't want to just provide this for you so that you blindly take a trade. That goes entirely against our educational philosophy. We want to educate you so that you don't even have to rely on these signal arrows. And once you click that on, you see, you were right. All right, so now you've properly identified. But let's say you're a little gun shy. Maybe your last trade was a loss. You want a little bit more confirmation. Here's where the dynamic duo comes into play. You click on the Pet Dee, and it automatically changes the colors. Now, in order for these to be valid dynamic duo setups with the Pet Dee, it needs to outline both of these bars green. You really don't care what the other bars are colored. It makes absolutely no difference if all of them were red, except for the buy signals above those arrows. So they're both green, so now you have the added confidence to take this trade. It's not guaranteed, but you could take either one of those, and that's where 16 points happen. Well, someone would say, well, how did you guys know that that was going to go up 16 points? Remember, we don't predict how high or how low anything will go. We're just sharing with you high probability setups. Based on our different ways to exit and to place your stop, it's up to you to decide. Some of our students may have said, Steve, I like to get in and out in a couple of points, and I move on to the next one. Still, someone could say, no, Steve, I like to get as much bang for my buck. I'll stay in as long as possible. That's up to you. Remember, you make your decisions. I don't. People at Pro Trader Strategies don't. Our trading consultants don't. You are in charge. In my 42 years of trading, that is the only way one becomes consistent, by making their own trading decisions. The good news is we provide you with a number of different variables so that you can do that easily. All right, let's look at ABBV. All right, once again, most traders would look at this and say, oh, this is simple. I have a bullish engulfing pattern right here. Remember, I took that $10,000 course on the candlesticks. This is really positive, so I think we're in an uptrend. I'm going to look to buy, and we just had a down day here, so this is most likely a really good buying opportunity. All right? Once again, 99.9% of traders make their decisions based off this. What is the market telling us? Well, the first thing you want to do is find the overall trend. Click on buy sell line, click on 50-period moving average, and where is price in relation to that? It's below. So the overall trend is not up. The overall trend is down. So I don't care what somebody says in a chat room or what some $10,000 course told you. You should be having a seller's bias and not a buyer's bias. You will have a higher level of consistency if you think that way. Remember, it's not guaranteed that every trade is going to work out if you follow this rule, but you'll increase your odds for consistency with this rule. And that's what it's all about. It's not about winning on every trade. It's just about a 2-step forward, 1-step back approach. So now that we know that we're a seller, we notice that this bar closed near its lows, and it may be a strategy 4 setup, all right, to go short. So let's click on strategy 4. Check our work by applying the signal arrows for educational purposes, and guess what? We're right. That's a valid sell signal. In order to give us a higher level of consistency, we apply the Pet Dee, and if the Pet Dee is going to confirm this sell signal, it must color that bar red. We don't care what the other bars are colored. Let's see what the Pet Dee says. It's red, okay? The bar before it is green, a student sometimes says. Makes no difference. If that bar is red, that's all we're concerned about. All right, so that gave you the the confidence to take that trade, and a quick 5 points in the next couple of weeks. All right, so look at some more setups. PG, this was at the 1st of July, okay, just about a month or about 3 weeks ago. Add the Pet Dee, it's colored green. Even though 3 bars prior to it were red, it makes absolutely no difference. 7 points coming into the 16th of July. WHR, we have a cluster of buy signals, 2 buy signals. So someone could say, well, gosh, Steve, they're up too high. You know, I know we're above the 50. I know they're valid buy signals, but I want to make sure, give a little confidence. So we apply the Pet Dee, and not only are those 2 bars green, every bar is outlined green. So if you don't have the confidence, you don't have to take it. But the market, along with the Pet Dee, its translator, is telling you it's okay to take. The stock went up 8 points in the following week. How about BBBY? All right, we have a valid sell signal. It's below the 50. Bar closed in the bottom 25%. Those are the first 2 rules I shared with you. Now let's confirm it with the Pet Dee. Yes, it's colored red. Even though all the bars are colored red, all we're concerned with is the bar below the red arrow. That's all that matters. So now you have the confidence to buy puts. If you have enough capital, you can actually go short. but the stock went down 4 points. And as you can see, there's another sell setup coming into July. All right, letter V. All right, here's a little bit more advanced because we actually had one close below, but then it immediately went back up and closed above, okay? And it generated a valid buy signal according to all the requirements. So if you're a little bit weary about this trade because it did close below for one bar, why don't you add the Pet Dee to give you that confidence? Once you add the Pet Dee, you see it's colored green as well. So if you decided to take this trade, it would have been a good decision because the stock went up 18 points coming into the second week of July, okay? Now, if you missed that, the beauty of it many times is that this trend is strong enough, strategy 4 will generate more signals. And another one's generated in the beginning of July, so you could have taken advantage of that one as well. How about Intel, okay? Here's another advanced example because we had not only one, but two closes above and then immediately a sharp close below. And according to the requirements of strategy 4, it generated a valid sell signal. So if you're not sure about taking this, why don't we apply the Pet Dee? And even though every bar prior to that was green, all we're concerned about is this bar below the red arrow. As long as it's red, it's a valid confirmation to go ahead and take this trade. Why is it confirming? Because it's below the 50 and the short-term trend as identified by the Pet Dee is also in sync. So this is a high probability setup. You could have bought the puts, whatever you want, but 7 points coming into June. Another cluster in Costco, okay, we're above the 50. We have two buy signals. The Pet Dee colors them green. Had you taken these, maybe purchased the calls, 18 points coming into July 18th. Another one of these signals in VRSN where we have one close below and then quickly back up above. If we apply the Pet Dee, we see that the prior bar was red, but that's okay. As long as the signal bar is green, it's all systems go. If you wanted to take this trade, 27 points coming into the second, third week of July this month, okay? Do you see how easy it is to trade the Pet Dee, how simple it is, especially with our platform? All right, now you can apply this also to ETFs. Here's an older example in May and June in the QQQs, okay? The beauty of this is many times you can use this as a directional tool to tell you what you think the market may be doing. So not necessarily in terms of if you want to trade the QQQs, but if you want to get an idea of what you think the market may be doing. Now the QQQs generated three signals here. Two of them were buys and one of them was a sell, okay? So strategy number 4 requirements generated three signals. Which one do we take? This is the beauty of the Pet Dee. It helps filter out these trades that have low probability. Once you apply the Pet Dee, you want to see the buy signals colored green. You want to see the red sell signals colored red. All right, so once we apply the Pet Dee, what color are these buy signals? The Pet Dee colors them red. So therefore, it's not confirming you to go long, and it's not confirming a rally in the QQQs. So you would have bypassed these signals, and you would have actually saved yourself some money. Now the sell signal was validated. It's outlined colored red. So now that is okay to go short the QQQs. You want to buy some puts, or if you use this as a market trend directional tool, you could have said, well, wow, if there's going to be a sell-off in the QQQs, maybe those stocks I own, maybe I should raise my stop, or maybe if I was thinking about purchasing some NASDAQ stocks, maybe I should just hold off for a bit. That would have been a smart idea because the QQQs fell 15 points coming into June, which represented thousands of points in the Dow. Here's another example in a different time frame because it doesn't mean that you have to apply it only for daily bars. Here's a weekly chart of Facebook at the second week of June. We have two buy signals here. Now, we apply the Pet Dee. We see that the first one was colored red, so we didn't take that. And guess what? It went higher. This is where people always say, Steve, your stuff doesn't work. You know, there was a buy signal, the Pet Dee didn't confirm it, and I didn't get in, and now I lost money on Facebook. You didn't lose any money. And this is a question I repeatedly explain to my students. You just didn't get in the trade, but guess what? The market is giving you a higher probability setup, and you'll still be able to do well, because had you taken the second setup, which was confirmed, you could have gained 25 points. So you're not losing any money by sitting on the sidelines. You just maybe missed the trade, but the beauty of this is that if it's validated, it'll give you a chance to get back in. We're also looking here at a weekly chart of JWN. It's below the 50. The same rules apply for a weekly chart. A valid sell signal was generated. We apply the Pet Dee and we see that all the bars are red, but this is the only one that that matters. You could have bought some puts, or if you were long in your investment portfolio, maybe you wanted to exit or maybe raise your stop. That would have been a smart thing to do. The stock fell 15 points coming into July of this year, I should say, coming into this last couple of weeks. Let's look at some other markets, okay? Let me show you some other charts in different time frames, different markets. Here's an older chart of the Emini. Here's a 30-minute chart. It's a little bit more difficult because we're oscillating above and below, closing above, closing below, but now we have a valid setup right here, okay? We close below the 50 and we're in the bottom 25%. So we check our work, click on strategy 4, signal arrow, and yes, we're right. That's a valid sell signal. Now, if we're still a little bit uncertain about taking this, we apply the Pet Dee, the same process to a 30-minute chart, and it colored this particular setup bar red. So that gives you the confidence to go short, sell the E-minis if you'd like. Whoops, 17 points to the downside, okay? Not a bad little trade. That's over $850 per contract if you had decided to stay in that time. But remember, some of our students who day trade take a quick point and say, thank you, I'm out. I got a nice profit. I'm going to move on to the next setup. Others try to stay in as long as possible. The good news is we teach you both ways. The bad news is when you go to a chat room and you blindly follow what someone or something else is telling you how to trade. That is a recipe for disaster. In my book, you'll never become a consistent trader applying the process that way. You have to decide for yourself. Everyone comes into the game with different risk parameters. Everyone comes into the game with different capital amounts. So it's up to you. Some traders like to trade 20 times a day. Some traders like to trade once a month. There is no one right or wrong way to trade. The only wrong way to trade is when you blindly follow someone or something else. Take it from someone who did that for the first 2 years of his trading career some 4 decades ago, and it didn't work at all. Trust me, that's not about to start working now. All right, here's an older example, a 4-hour chart in the British pound for all you currency pair traders. Same rules apply. We're above the 50. We close in the top 25%. So we want to check our work. Click on strategy 4 and click on signal arrow. Excuse me. And it's a valid strategy number 4 buy signal on a 4-hour time frame. In order to give us a little bit more confirmation and confidence, we apply the Pet Dee, and yes, it's colored green. So if you want to take that 4-hour trade in the British pound, you can take it. If you don't, it's up to you. This is not a system, but it would have been a nice trade had you over 160 pips in just about a day or so. Now that's roughly about $1,600 per unit if you decided to trade in that long, stay in that long. That's potentially your decision. And then lastly, soybeans, okay? We know there's a lot of talk about, okay, well, you know, commodity markets are very unsafe, they're very risky. Not really. You apply the same, risk parameters, you apply the same stop loss rules, you apply the same entry rules we share with you, or exit rules. There's no difference from trading stocks or futures, in my opinion, all right? Sure, you have to have different capital requirements and different tick requirements, but it's still, all of the strategy 4 dynamic duo setups still apply. For example, in soybeans, this was in April coming into May, we had a valid setup. It's below, closing below the 50, and it closed in the bottom 25%. If you wanted to give yourself added confidence, you apply the Pet Dee, and yes, it's colored red, so you have a valid dynamic duo setup. And then look what happened to soybeans, over 105 points to the downside, okay? Now, sure, you could have justified this by saying, well, yeah, Steve, that's because of trade wars, or that's because of economics, or that's because of supply and demand. Sure, it could be, but how did we know? It wasn't like anyone called us up and told us this advanced information. If I backtrack once again and go back to the previous slide, at this point, I had no advanced information about what you want to justify with, whether it be a trade war or whether it be supply and demand. All we saw is what was based on market behavior. Remember, there's no reason, if you don't want to follow news events and advanced convoluted logic. There's no reason to. Once you know the 4 or 5 rules that make up strategy 4 and then just simply apply the Pet Dee, that will give you the confidence to know that your decisions are based off market behavior that happen over and over again, as you just saw here in soybeans. Okay, now we can go to this slide. Let's recap. What did we share with you? In order to succeed today, you need a 1-2 punch in trading, regardless of what market, regardless of what time frame. So what I believe that 1-2 punch is is strategy number 4. It's our most consistent strategy. I've been trading this for over 4 decades now on a daily basis. I just had a trade earlier today where I went long based off of this, okay? Secondly, you also need the Pet Dee to confirm. This is our most powerful tool because it is a translator. It's translating literally on a short-term time frame what the market wants to do. So when you add strategy number 4 along with the Pet Dee, 2 of our most consistent techniques and tools, you get what we call our dynamic duo, our most successful and consistent trading package we have at both Pro Trader Strategies and Specialist Trading, because we have students around the world trading this consistently. Now ask yourself, do you think the dynamic duo could have helped your trading this past year? Just based off what I've shared with you on examples this past couple of weeks. I think if you answer honestly, the answer would be yes. So here's what I want to do today. I really want to help you as your potential mentor, as your instructor. I want to take your trading to the next level with this great attendee discount. Now, this is a discount that we offer very rarely. In fact, this is something we don't usually offer maybe every couple of years. And this actually may be the last time we're offering this. We're going to offer a great deal on the Dynamic Duo. In fact, this is our Dynamic Duo special. Instant course access, detailed instruction. You're going to learn all of the entries, exits, and stop placements. I didn't share any of those with you today. I just shared with you the high probability setups. For example, let's say I had given this presentation a week or so ago and you became a student of mine. Here is something you could have identified, okay? Looking at this example in AN, okay? This is just a week ago in AN. Someone looking at this who usually would have traded what they've been taught on, traditional wisdom would have said, Steve, this is a non-event. This is a sideways range. There's absolutely no way I can discern what this market wants to do. Why would I take advantage of this? Still another student will say, well, Steve, sure, it may be sideways, but the reason is because there's resistance here. This is where all the institutions, according to this $10,000 course I took, this is where the resistance is because the institutions are selling here. And most likely this stock is going to go lower. So I'm going to be negative on this particular stock, okay? Do you see how all my justifications are based off of what someone or something else is telling me? Well, in the course, we teach you what the market is telling you. Firstly, by applying the 50-period moving average. So once you've learned that rule, which I just taught you today, what is the market telling you for the overall trend? Even though we're going sideways, the market is telling you that the overall trend is up, and that you should only be looking at this from a buyer's perspective, okay? Now, once you know the rules of the strategy, and one of them I did teach you was to look for bars that close in the top 25%. Now, sure, some of these other bars did close in the top 25%, but they didn't meet the criteria of the strategy. But this one did. You check your work, and you could have seen here on the 16th of July, which was just, not even a week ago, I think. A buy signal was generated. So had you taken this course roughly a week ago, you would have said, well, you know what, maybe I'd be interested in purchasing this, maybe buy some calls or something. But then again, you want a little bit more added assurance. All you have to do is simply add the Pet Dee. And guess what? The Pet Dee colored that bar green. So you have the added assurance because it's been confirmed. The stock went up 7 points in 1 week. This chart was taken yesterday, the 23rd, okay? Obviously, some news came out yesterday which caused this to gap up and go up tremendously higher. Once again, did we know? I still have no idea why this went up, but who cares? I mean, trust me, who cares what the reason is? As long as you have your exit in there or as long as you have an exit plan, it's up to you to decide how you want. I mean, who cares why it went up? I stopped worrying about that 40 years ago. I'm just listening to the market because no one knows how high or how low something will go. All we can do is listen to the market and make our decisions based off that. So here's the offer, the special attendee offer we're going to give to all of our students in attendance today. This is our Dynamic Duo special that once again we only offer once every couple of years. Now if you individually purchase these courses, Strategy 4 would roughly cost you close to $700. The Pet Dee would cost you close to $3,000. So you would be basically spending roughly about $3,700 for what we're offering you today. You're absolutely not even going to be coming close to spending that amount of money. In fact, what we're going to charge you is our Dynamic Duo special of only $497, okay? $497. This includes a $97 per month charge. This is a tremendous offer to get in the first, the first time with our dynamic duo, because as I stated, we don't usually offer this at such a low price with this payment plan. In fact, we do it like once every couple of years. And this most likely is the last time we will be doing this. But just to make sure that you're really taking your trading to the next level, we're not going to stop there. We're also going to include 1 year free of our PTS Primo Charting Platform. Now, a lot of people say, Steve, I love this, but I don't want to have a monthly payment. I could purchase this thing altogether. What would I spend $3,700? No, we would discount the full payment, a one-time payment, to only $29.95, meaning that you'd only be paying for the Pet Dee. You wouldn't be paying for Strategy 4, even though it's yours for life, and you wouldn't be paying for 1 year of the PTS Primo Charting Platform. So if you want a one-time payment to just take care of it all in one clear full swoop, it would be only $29.95. Now, with the platform, not only comes Strategy 4 and the Pet Dee trend identifier, which is one click away. Remember, I showed you how simple it is. You're also getting proprietary exit level tool that shows you automatically where the exits are generated. Over 90 of the most prominent technical indicators. And I think one of the best things here is our signal scanner. You could have scanned for all those signals that I just shared with you the night prior to them being generated. So this is the beauty of this. If you're not able to be in front of your computer all the time, you could have scanned for all of these setups I just shared with you on our platform. It also comes with free Bloomberg TV. You can have free fundamental news if you wish to do so on your charting platform, and great personalized tech support. This, once again, is a great, great offer. This is our Dynamic Duo Special. $497, a one-time payment, and then only $97 per month. And this also comes with 1 year of the PTS Primo Charting Platform. Now, if you want to just have one payment and get it over with, it's $29.95, which is still a tremendous, tremendous offer. Here's how to take advantage of this. Contact Pro Trader Strategies. I designed and developed the platform with them. They're in charge of all of our discounts, all of our courses. They would be happy to work with you or to set up that $497 offer if you want to talk to them more about it. I would suggest calling them directly at area code 310-598-6677. They have qualified trading consultants manning the phones. They would be happy to work with you right now and to explain more. There's absolutely no obligation. If you're ready to sign up, if you want more information, that link you see at the bottom will take you to the sign-up page as well as the more information. But it's not a live link, but I've posted a live link in the chat box of the GoToWebinar column. So here's all the information you need. Now, I promised the last portion of today's webinar would be reserved for questions. So if you have a question, all you have to do is simply type it in your question and answer box, and I'll answer it right now. But remember, there's absolutely no obligation. If you want some more information concerning the platform or concerning the pricing, please contact Pro Trader Strategies. They would be happy to discuss it with you without any obligation, and just to inform you, to give you some more ideas, okay? All right, let's see, the question and answer box. Ron is asking, what chart time frames do you use? Well, once again, Ron, maybe you joined us late. That goes entirely against our philosophy. It makes no difference what time frames I use. What's important is what you use, okay? And trust me, I asked my mentors this very same question some 4 decades ago. I said, listen, why don't you tell me what time frame and what market you're trading, and I'll just piggyback along with you. And they said, if we did that, we'd be doing a disservice because you wouldn't be making your own trading decisions. You wouldn't be a consistent trader. You would be following us, and most likely you wouldn't be able to trade the same way. Maybe you think there's too much risk that I had, or maybe you didn't like the amount of trades I was taking. Maybe there were too many. Maybe there were too little. You have to find your own way. The only way you can do this is by paper trading different time frames, by paper trading different markets, and then coming to the conclusion is that this works best for you. I have students that tell me on a daily basis, Steve, I love the dynamic duo. It works the best on 10-minute time frame of the currency pairs. All right? Now, I'll get most likely in the same day another testimonial from another student say, Steve, I love the dynamic duo. It worked great in weekly charts of stocks. That's the best market to trade in the best time frame. Is one right and is one wrong? No. The only thing that's wrong is when you blindly try to follow what someone else is doing. So it would be a disservice if I said, well, the time frame I use is this, and that's what you should be using. That would be a crutch. I don't want to do that to you as a potential student, okay? Reg is saying, show us a trade you would take right now. I just share with you trades that we took in the last couple of weeks. I mean, it's silly. This is not a live presentation. This is a PowerPoint presentation, so I don't have access to live charts. Do you accept a monthly installment? Mandela, I'm sorry, is asking, do you accept monthly installments? Yes, it would be a monthly installment of $97. Now, if you wanted to trade the $29.95, that's something you would have to most likely ask Pro Trader Strategies. Once again, they're in charge of all the discounts and all the pricing. They could work with that for you, okay? I'm just in charge of trading. But remember, as an educational company, I just spent the last hour educating you on high probability setups. You have two of the rules as to one of our most consistent methods. So Reg was asking to show us some trades I would take. Reg, I think you can do that yourself. Go look at whatever stocks or you're interested in or whatever markets you're interested in. Apply those two rules and see if they would have added to your consistency, okay? Just, we don't show live trades here because I understand, Reg, because that is a crutch. It's no different from going to a chat room, and I don't believe in that, because if you saw a live trade of something that I took, what would most likely be your reaction? Oh, wow, so Steve took a trade here in a 15-minute time frame of the ES Mini, so I guess I should be trading that market. So I guess I won't trade stocks anymore. I'll trade the E-Mini, so I'll try and copy what he's doing. And do you see how you go down that road where ultimately you're doing the same thing that every other so-called trader is educating you on a website? We don't do that. We don't believe in that. That's why we don't have chat rooms. We don't believe in statistics, because that would require everyone to trade the exact same way. We want you to find your way. As your instructor, let's say you wanted to learn how to swim, all right? I could get in the pool and show you all the different ways to swim. I could teach you exactly what it takes to swim. But if you want to swim either in an event or on your own time and leisure, I can't swim for you. You've got to do that. Same thing if you wanted to learn a sport, you wanted to learn how to golf. I could show you how to do that. I could show you what is best working for you with your style. But I can't play golf for you in an event. You've got to do that. So that's the same process here. I can't trade for you. If I provide you with snapshots of what I did today or what, in a chat room, you're going to be hindered by that, okay? I just, trust me, I'm saying this because I asked the very same questions. I'm not trying to in any way say this as a disservice or disparage you. I asked the exact same questions 4 decades ago, and my mentors told me the same thing, okay? So if you're still having trouble in feeling confident about this, trust me, you have two of the rules we just shared with you. Go back and see if they could, most likely added consistency to your trading. I can almost guarantee that that simple rule of the 50-period moving average would have increased your odds for success this past month or so. Most likely, if you're like most traders, you're buying below the 50 and selling above the 50. And most likely, that's where all of your losing trades are coming into play. So just go back and do that due diligence and say, wow, I should have never taken this trade. That's right, Steve has showed me something that really works. And once you get that confidence, then I think you'll be ready and willing to become a student of mine, okay? Remember, if you have more questions concerning that great special offer, remember, it's something we don't usually offer. $497 one-time down payment, and then only $97 a month, which comes with Strategy 4 and the Pet Dee. You own them for a lifetime. This is not something that's only good for 6 months or a year. They are yours. And you also get 1 year of the platform. That's a great, amazing offer. Most likely we won't be having this offer going forward. I would really take advantage of this while you have the time. Contact Pro Trader Strategies. They have trading consultants manning the phones. There's absolutely no obligation on your part. They can provide you with more information concerning pricing, okay? As we conclude, I just want to say I hope you got something out of this. I hope you saw our attention to detail and how our sincerity is truly in wanting to educate you. But more importantly, as you look at one last time at our disclaimer, I really look forward to all of you becoming students of mine and members of the Dynamic Duo course. Remember to contact Pro Trader Strategies for more information. Thank you so much. Have a great day. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.